The kid won his first race, but then as soon as he won that first race, this early in the season, by the way, the questions were going to start. Is he able to, and is he going to be able to rival George Russell? And contextually, Antonelli became the 116th Formula One race winner this weekend. And look, those conversations are now going to be centering around a 19-year-old with just 26 Grand Prix of experience. As one of Kimi Antonelli's biggest supporters, answering my own question, can Antonelli actually rival Russell in 2026? I got to say it is a way too premature hope for Formula One, the community, the fans, to put all their hopes into this 19-year-old at this stage. And no disrespect to Kimi. Again, I got his t-shirt on. He's not seasoned enough quite yet. And one example is that late lockup in China, by the way, giving himself a heart attack. He's going to have his opportunity in the future. He's got a lot of promise. Even his dad was also kind of like, I'm going to level up this statement a little bit with like how excited I am knowing that George is still kind of the guy here. Russell's really impressive. Khaki Kevin Walker. I'll push this question to you, though. Is there an actual shot, at least in your vision, that Kimi Antonelli can make this season, the World Drivers' Championship battle, that much more interesting?
Not yet. It's close, and I think we'll see another 3 or 4 race wins by Kimi Antonelli. But I think, when we take off those rose-colored glasses, as you said earlier, it's not going to be a Mercedes 25-second finish ahead of everybody else for the rest of the season. Or else, I don't think it will be. I think McLaren, I think Red Bull, I think Ferrari, all these teams have the capabilities of upgrading. Not to say the Mercedes don't, because obviously they do. And that's something that they've done really well at in the future. But I would imagine that these other teams are going to kind of start figuring out what it is that they did incorrectly all along. Maybe get their car on the track, McLaren, and they're going to be able to find themselves competing against Mercedes in some way, shape, or form. Because right now, even the best of the best outside of Mercedes is fighting to be half a second behind them. So I think once these other teams kind of try to catch up, I think that's where Kimi can kind of fall a little bit further back. Once Lewis and Charles have a faster car and a better car to compete with, I think they're going to be kind of climbing up, fighting with George more than Kimi. I think Kimi's going to be rounding out podiums more than anything. But I do think that it's very strong. He's going to continue to evolve. He's only 19 years old. I just don't think this year is the year for him to be fighting for Drivers' Championship potential. But I do want to ask you, Tristan. This came to my mind while we were getting ready for the pod. And like a professional radio host I am, I kept it for the show, so you didn't know. What are you going to do when you have 2 number 1 drivers situation on your hand in the next coming years?
I mean, we talked about it a little bit last year when your boys were going at it. How it's a good problem to have when you have 2 really talented drivers.
Problem Mercedes has had before.
They have had it before. I would say leaning on that experience from Toto Wolff and a lot of the more senior members of the team is probably going to be the move. I think that at the end of the day, this is still a sport that involves a lot of big ego and everybody wants to win. There's not a single driver on this grid who does not want to win a single win.
Or think they can't win.
Or think they can. But again, that being said, I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a while before this kid, mind you, this guy jumping into the welcome arms of his team after his first win. I think it's going to be some time. It's probably going to be a few years. And if/when we're afforded that opportunity, I would think in the next few years, the rest of the field is also caught up and it's going to just literally be the best driver wins at this stage. Is it going to be as toxic maybe as, the Brosades rivalry where they were running into each other in Spain and, taking shots at each other, so to speak? I can't say that for sure. It seems like they have a very good relationship at this juncture, but there are, of course, times last year looking at what your guys at McLaren had that things were very tense between Lando and Oscar, right? If Mercedes' vision for the future comes true, both of these guys are going to be fighting for a championship in the next couple of years against each other. I don't know exactly what it'll look like, but I think it'll probably be kind of sort of similar to what McLaren did. I think they'll probably take a little bit of a step in that direction. Whoever leads off, whoever can make it a T1, so to speak, and is ahead, they'll probably get a little bit of that priority. But at a certain juncture, look, if the pace is there and you think you can overtake him cleanly, go do it. At the end of the day, the team just wants to maximize the points. The Drivers' Championship is for us, as for the fans. That is the fun thing for us to speculate on. But with all due respect, the teams are always going to prioritize the constructors. That is the nature of this sport. Bonus checks and mortgages get paid off and kids get sent to school based on how teams finish in the constructors. Drivers' championships are for you and me, for the rest of the fans, and for the drivers themselves. They're for legacy. They're for a lot of fun. They help us discern who was great, who isn't great, maybe. But at the end of the day, it's going to be kind of similar. As soon as Mercedes, potentially in this scenario, claim a constructors, look, battle out between each other, just try to keep the cars clean. That's it. That's going to be what it is. So, that being said, I still think it's going to be a while. Like, George Russell's developed into arguably one of the top 3 drivers in the entire sport. My personal opinion, I think he's second best, behind only Max Verstappen at this exact moment. His pace is incredible. He's been really, really fast across both the first couple of race weekends. And Antonelli starts off the line, or why I was so hesitant in our personal P10 league to pick him to actually win the race, even though he secured pole position. If Russell doesn't get an extra lap of qualifying in during Q3, potentially, you know, like maybe Antonelli doesn't win this weekend. But I think while fans have every right to desire a real title fight at the front, because that's when the competition at the front, it always makes for the most captivating experience. We got that last year. We got a 3-way title fight last year, and I felt like as fans, we were really blessed and fortunate for that. I don't think Russell's going to be folding to his second-year teammate, though, to actually bring it back home. I think Kimi needs a little more time to become the driver a lot of fans, myself included, think he could be, which is a world championship level driver. But maybe it's going to be a few years from now. I think that right now this is still George Russell's team. George Russell's, opportunity is this year. So, I mean, any conjecture on that?
No, I don't think so. I think we're kind of in cahoots on where we think that this team is in the progress of this team. But if Kimi starts putting Mercedes in a situation where, hey, George, we can't let you win anymore because Kimi actually is faster than you, I think that's where talk really starts to heat up. And I don't think we're at that point. But I do know that we are coming up to the horizon of, hey, that decision's going to have to be made for Mercedes.
I think at the end of the day, your driver 1 reveals themselves, right? Like McLaren haven't had the issue of who their driver 1 is because both their drivers are really close. Like, if I'm being completely honest, on merit, both of the drivers in the McLarens are really, really close. Mercedes are a couple of years away from that, in my opinion. Maybe their biggest hope is that Antonelli takes the jump that Oscar did in year 3, like Oscar did against Lando, and then maybe he's fighting for a championship next year. That would be a dream scenario, but it is not normal. It's not normal for drivers to just have that kind of a leap forward. But that being said, at 19 years old, the kid's learning really fast. Winning your first Grand Prix in just 26 races, even in the best car in the field against a really, really, really good teammate, is still something to hang your cap on. And
we'll just have to see how he does in Europe.
We gotta find out. I mean, the titanium dioxide is a little bit harder to find in the European stretch of the season. So we'll see. We'll see how the rest of it goes. To the TLPs, do you think there's a shot for a fight at the front in 2026? Are you that optimistic? Let us know in the comments down below.